morning to everyone. My name is Simon Trunel. I'm Senior Director, Product Marketing at Nagra. And along with John Watts from MTL Consulting, we'll be hosting this first presentation on the impact of, and providing you some impact on the growing changes in the pay TV industry and how to keep the industry evolving and growing in a mature market, especially as we face here into Europe. So the overall topic of this presentation is really to cover some of the key challenges that the PTV business is facing in mature markets, and to present as well some of the initial findings of a research program sponsored by Nagra and executed by MTM that we will bring today to you, covering some of the winning strategies and tactics of some of the leading operators worldwide, and showing how these different new trends and techniques can be applied to other operators around the world as well. In a changing environment like the PTV space, it's clear that PTV service providers are under pressure and facing various challenges in their markets. What is really happening is that over the past years, we've seen a number of new trends in terms of new devices, new ways of consuming content, and new behaviors from consumers. And the key question for service providers is how to stay relevant and how to be on top of the game for the years to come, knowing that the existing model has been very successful for the past 20 years. So the key challenge is how to anticipate change and to be ahead of the game in the years to come. And change could actually be brutal if you have not anticipated what's going to happen. We know that from a service provider and consumer standpoint, many new things have entered the space. First of all, broadband has become a reality. Multi-screen, anytime viewing are also becoming mainstream, with all sorts of new services being available, new consumer behavior, and overall an important change in adoption of these new behaviors from consumers, transforming the way content is delivered. And even from a, I would say, sports provider, Hollywood studios, or broadcasters, there is now a way to reach the consumer directly over IP networks, transforming the way content can be delivered to the end users, and definitely bringing a lot of change to the industry, to the pay TV industry in general. In this context, we have decided to investigate further these market trends and answer one of the most important questions from a business standpoint: is how does pay TV continue to grow and stay profitable through 2020 and beyond? And to be able to answer some of answer this question and some many other important ones underlying that pitch, Nagra has teamed up with MTM and decided to launch the PTV Innovation Forum, which is really a forum designed to conduct advanced research through surveys, interviews, and discussions with industry professionals, you, the transformers, and other industry experts, in a context that will allow us to collect new insight, research, and share that information back with you through a white paper series and webinar series. So to already introduce you to some of the early results of that research, I would like now to ask John Watts to go over with you some of the early findings, knowing that in the coming weeks we will run a number of in-depth sessions, including a session tomorrow afternoon here at the Connected TV Summit, to gather some more insight and be able to provide a richer picture of where we're headed into the future. John?
Great, thank you very much, Simon. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. We're really delighted to be working with NAGRA on this initiative. The Pay TV Innovation Forum, the initial wave of research will run for about 6 to 7 months with a series, as Simon said, of events, brainstorming sessions, and various stages of research. I'm going to introduce you today to some of the findings and just talk through some of the themes we envisage exploring during the course of the next few months. The broad structure of the program has 3 big stages. We're going to be starting by looking in real detail at pay TV platform operator business models, how those businesses have been structured, how they've evolved and developed over the course of the last 10 years. We'll then look at the big drives of change and the challenges and opportunities that those throw up. And we'll end by thinking about innovation and growth. What I'm going to talk to you today is a snapshot of where the industry is today in terms of innovation and growth. What are the big opportunities, in other words, that pay TV providers are investing in? I'm going to race through this at take-no-prisoners speed, unfortunately, as we've been given very strict timing guidelines. So forgive me if I talk quickly. Happy to talk later if you want to come and grab me after the event. So very quickly, just to tell you the obvious, pay TV operated business models traditionally were defined by consumer premises equipment and content. This was a CPE-based game, end-to-end platforms for distributing content into households, working with various different partners, content providers, technology vendors, OEMs, and so on and so forth, to deliver a platform that allowed the generation of subscription income, by far the dominant business model. But obviously, as you all know incredibly well, that business model has become less distinctive, and there are 2 big, obvious forces for change. On the one side, we have the obvious emergence of the internet as infrastructure capable of delivering premium content. Suddenly, you don't need consumer premises equipment to deliver content, premium content, into households. And on the other side, we have telcos with broadband networks, mobile networks, now capable of delivering premium content, moving into the film and TV space. And all of this has put tremendous pressure on traditional pay TV operators. Vertically integrated business models, as described in the previous slide, are increasingly at risk. It's more difficult to grow traditional pay TV ARPUs in many markets. They're under pressure. There are price competitive businesses out there. And as a result, many share prices are under intense pressure. There are sell ratings on lots of pay TV businesses. Pay TV businesses obviously are responding, but when we think a bit about the innovation characteristics of pay TV businesses, they do face some challenges. So in many cases, the platforms, the CPE platforms that were deployed were extremely inflexible. It was very difficult to evolve them at a rapid pace. There was a significant lack of speed and agility versus, say, OTT businesses. A Facebook, a Netflix can roll out improvements to its platform almost overnight. Much harder to do if you have to swap out consumer premises equipment or even upgrade software on that box. Resourcing in-house R&D, very difficult for smaller operators. The large majority of pay TV businesses do not have substantial R&D functions. It only tends to be the large whales in the industry who can really fund that kind of effort. Core subscription business requires a lot of insane focus. Companies have been very, very pointed at it. Trying to diversify away from that into other areas has often been challenging. Lots of value chain coordination issues. And then lastly, unlike, say, telcos and internet businesses, many pay TV businesses have been a bit less close to the IT and software industries, which have driven a lot of the innovation around the TMT sectors during the course of the last 10 years. So how are pay TV operators responding? Well, our initial wave of research has looked at 3 main areas of innovation. So first of all, we've looked at the way in which pay TV operators have been involved in the core pay TV offer. So new forms of pricing and packaging, more advanced set-top boxes, and the introduction of video on demand, connected devices to deliver new types of media into consumers' households. Secondly, very obviously, OTT, both standalone OTT offerings like Sky's Now or Sling, TV Everywhere offerings, so distributing your pay TV content across multiple platforms, and then third-party apps, onboarding those onto your platforms. And then lastly, a set of big adjacencies, things like B2B services, so generating income from businesses rather than consumers, smart home, quad play, and so on and so forth. Our first wave of research has looked at 4 big buckets of operator. We've looked at the big pan-regional groups, companies that operate in multiple markets. We've looked at major telcos backing into the pay TV market. We've looked at big local operators and then largely a sort of long tail of small local operators. So in total, we've reviewed 81 service providers across 21 territories in EMEA and the US. And we'll be rolling out this research to other markets during the next few months. What have we found? Well, very briefly, we're going to show you some scorings in a second. We've scored all of those operators in terms of what they offer across each of these areas. And a few things emerge from a findings point of view. First of all, there is a huge gulf between the most advanced operators and those who have the most basic offerings. A small number of operators have significantly more diverse business diversification outputs out there, and you see the 7 leaders that we've identified there. When you drill down into the detail a little bit, actually it's a slightly different picture. The vast majority of pay TV businesses are pretty advanced now in both evolving the core pay TV offer and moving into OTT. Where we see much more variation is at the rate at which companies are moving into the adjacent sectors, the B2B areas and other significant segments like that. Drilling down a bit further, and we have more detail like this that we'll be sharing during the course of the next few months, things like VOD services are now very widely deployed. So across our sample, 90% of operators have some sort of VOD function on their set-top box, which are offered to consumers. But when we get to more advanced things like voice control, it's a much smaller proportion. Only 6% have got some sort of advanced voice capability deployed. We look at OTT, the numbers are a bit more impressive. Again, TV everywhere is almost ubiquitous across our sample. Pretty much every pay TV business is offering a TV everywhere service. But when we get down to standalone OTT, it's only just about a third, so much less common again. And then, we've lost our slides. This is the moment where someone steps in, hopefully, to rescue us. Well, what the next slide, no, we lost them there as well. Do we have anyone who can step in and save me at this point?
What would you have said?
What I would have said...
Sorry, it's crashed.
It's crashed.
It, yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
We're back.
It's back.
Fantastic.
It's back.
Let me just jump on. The last thing I was going to say very, very briefly is that when it comes to the adjacencies, this seems to be the area which is least addressed at the moment. So thinking about how to leverage the pay TV platform to expand into new areas like smart home services or B2B services like advanced advertising, data and analytics, and so on and so forth. It's only really the whales who have moved into this area. So the big finding initially is that innovation at the moment, when it comes to diversifying portfolios and moving into these new areas, is relatively concentrated across the major whales. Why? Well, they're the companies that have an ability to invest, and even then it can be challenging. You need a big subscriber base to make a return from some of these investments. These companies have big R&D budgets and teams. They have scale in pay TV and other offers increasingly. And increasingly importantly, we think they have a large connected base. They're able to bring service to market more quickly because the boxes are not standalone. Not true for all operators, but true for many. The one big caveat, as we said, is that generally the pay TV industry has done a very good job of innovating around its core pay TV offer and into OTT, partly because of the suppliers and vendors who many companies depend upon heavily for these kinds of product and service innovations. So the kinds of issues we're going to be exploring as the forum develops over the course of the next few months fall into 4 big buckets. So first of all, what are the big opportunities for pay TV providers to evolve their propositions and business models? I've just taken you through an initial snapshot of where the industry is today. What does the next 5 years look like? How do pay TV operators leverage their assets, capabilities, and relationships to address new areas in a much more competitive market? Secondly, what can we learn from telco and OTT innovation models, if anything? Are there business formations, operating characteristics that can really inform the way that pay TV businesses develop their own offerings? Talked about the capabilities piece. And then lastly, industry groups and suppliers. In many other industries, obviously, we have forums which are incredibly important in helping operators in other segments develop common approaches to innovation and new product development. In pay TV, arguably, these are still a bit undeveloped. Is there scope for doing more pan-industry to support innovation? Simon.
I think in a nutshell, I was going to go through a quick example of a customer, actually an Nagra customer that has implemented some of these principles already. And we're seeing definitely a number of other players. And the scope of really the research program we're going to have over the coming months is to involve you as industry experts, open up the conversation, gather some of your input, analyze some of the figures and data from the market that we're able to collect, and really report back to you on the trends, the strategies, the tactics that are deployed, and hopefully make it actionable for you as industry professionals in your different roles, and to make sure that your company's pay TV industry in general stays relevant and moves forwards in the years to come. Thank you very much.